Well, hello. We've had a bit of a break over the summer, missed out on an August live stream, but it is great to be back with you. So, welcome. This is the first of a series of 4 live streams I'm going to do, which are going to be actually scripted webinars. Well, not scripted because I don't have a script, but I do have some slides prepared and a structure. We're going to talk about a series of topics. So today we're going to be talking about resilience to stress and how to handle stress if it happens. So the most important thing, of course, is if we can avoid getting into stress, into the stress situation, by being resilient and being able to cope with the pressures that that life throws at us, and particularly the life of a project manager, which can be stressful. Then next month we'll be talking about stakeholder engagement, and then I can't remember the sequence, but in November and December we've got risk management and leadership. So I've got 4 seminars or webinars lined up for you, the kind of thing I would normally charge for, but I decided to develop something and put it onto YouTube and give it away for free, because that's kind of the attitude I'm taking at the moment. So if you are attending live, then do pop your name and your location and a little bit about yourself, what you do in the project world, into the chat, because it's good to know who we've got. And I can see we've got Saeed from Iran, project coordinator. Welcome, Saeed. And we've got Once They Named Me I Wasn't, who has attended a number of these, and I should probably make you a moderator because you're a kind of friend of the channel. So let me just do that, so that'll give you the ability to deal with any chat you think is inappropriate on my behalf. It's been a long time since we've had some inappropriate chat, but occasionally spammers do drop by, so it'd be good to have those dealt with. And also it allows you to post links, so if you think of a link that's relevant that the audience might be interested in, then you can do that. So welcome Once They Name Me, Mike the Master of the Game. You do kind of embarrass me a bit at times. Anyway, it's my pleasure. And yeah, I'll just call you Once, and you're a PMO. Well, I didn't know that about you, so that's splendid. And then we've got Hambo Gamble, also from the UK, I recall, and it's a QA currently in front of a fan. I'm not, although if you can hear a fan going, that's my computer desperately trying to deal with the temperature. We've got what passes for a heat wave in the UK this week. What is it? It's 26 degrees in the office at the moment, which for a lot of parts of the world is not a heat wave, it's just warm. For us in the UK, if it goes over 21 degrees centigrade or under 5 degrees centigrade, we moan and grumble about it. We have, pretty decent weather here in the UK. So I'm not going to complain, knowing that there are people who have had to deal with 40-degree temperatures, and I just, I think the highest I've been, I went out to Jodhpur and Jaisalmer when I was a student, actually the year before I went to university, and that's the hottest I think I've ever experienced. I don't know what the temperature was, but I would say it was probably in the mid-30s, and that was bad enough. Who else we got? We got Ed from Providence, Rhode Island, project supervisor. So that's great. So we've got the Middle East, we've got Europe, and we've got Northern America. So that's 3 continents already. That's fantastic. Anyway, not too much chat. We're going to get pretty much straight into it in a moment. But I do want to let you know that on our sister channel, which is called Management Courses, what I do on that YouTube channel is I create a whole course, and then I release it module by module a week at a time. And today, a new course started, which will take us all the way through the autumn and most of the winter, I expect, probably moderately into 2024, probably finish around January, February. I haven't kind of figured out exactly. And that will be of interest to project managers because it is a course on leadership. So I'm going to put a link in the chat to this course. There's only one lecture available at the moment because they come out weekly on Tuesdays. But the first one is What is Leadership? And it's a bit of a taster. I've recorded I think about 10 of them already, and some of them are up on YouTube, ready to go week by week. And so I can say with confidence that I think it's pretty good. So there it is. Don't go looking at it now, but do take a look at it. What I put is a playlist. So the way I do these is I put the courses into playlists. You will find also in that playlist are some of the videos from the Teams course, which has a lot of stuff on teams, but some of it obviously is, some of that course is about team leadership. And so the team leadership elements are also in the leadership playlist. But you're looking for this course for the kind of yellow covers. I should be able to get it up on screen actually. So let me just find that and get it up on screen so that you can see. So if I go to my browser window, this is the Management Courses YouTube channel. And here is what is leadership, just kind of ready for you to kind of watch. And if you go to playlists, if you don't bother to click the thing and you scroll through the playlists, there's the teams one, there's leadership. And if you, here's a tip, always click the view full playlist link rather than the video, and that will show you what the playlist looks like. As you can see, there's a lot of stuff on team leadership, but then the first one at the one at the bottom there, which sadly, let's just see if we can get that to show. There it is at the bottom there. That is the first of the actual leadership course. So do take a look at that when you get a moment. Feel free. Anyway, that's just a little kind of promo. Let's get into it. I know a lot of you are here not for the chat, but to learn a little bit about handling stress and resilience to stress for project managers. So what I'm going to do is cut across to my slide set, and we'll hop into the slides. Actually, let's go full screen on the slides. And so this is what we're going to be talking about. We're going to split the session into 3 sections. The first is going to be all about spotting the signs of stress, both in yourself and your team. And I'm going to do the whole thing by looking at stress and resilience for yourself, but also stress and resilience in your team. So the first thing is, what are the signs of stress? Then we'll look at de-stressing. How do you actually release your own stress? How do you help your team to release their stress? And then prevention. How can you build resilience so that you are not immune to stress and your team is not immune to stress, but can handle higher levels of stressors without becoming stressed? Now, I'm a physicist. I come from a physics background, so I'm not really keen on the term stress because actually stress is an applied force. Strain is the deformation that happens as a result of an applied force, and really it's not the stress that does the damage, because 2 different people in the same situation will respond differently. One of them will become stressed, for want of a better word, ill, fatigued, angry, upset. The other one will cope very well. So it's not the external force, it's not the stress that does the damage, it's the strain, it's the way we respond. So building resilience is about giving yourself more ability to deal with the external stressors without finding yourself under strain. So we'll look at that as well. So let's dive in and start with spotting the signs of stress. And I'm going to kind of illustrate this with perhaps the toughest time I've ever had on a project. I was working in Den Haag, in the Netherlands. It was February 2000. I'd gone out on the first working day of the new year, having finished a year 2000 project in the run-up to the new year. That hadn't been too stressful because we reckoned we were ready by October, by the end of October, and so we spent November and December doing drills and tidying up and cleaning up loose ends, tidying up loose ends. So I was quite relaxed, went out, and it was probably the most stressful project I've worked on. I also, by the way, had the best job title I've ever had, which was launch director. I kind of wanted a big red button on my desk, and I wish I'd been able to take a photo of the sign on my door, but didn't have a camera on my phone in those days. Anyway, was working in The Hague. It was very stressful, large project, but the major stresses for me were not the work, and they weren't the client. It was actually one senior member of my team. So I was leading a large part of the team. He was leading another part of the team, and for whatever reasons, whether it was his personality or he felt himself under stress or whatever, but his approach was a major stressor to myself and to many other team members, and obviously I was keen to do a good job, and as a result I was working longer and longer hours. I was eating poorer and poorer food. I was getting home late, back to London late on a Friday evening. I was getting the first flight out on a Monday, and the weekend was just a bit of a blur. I wasn't sleeping well. I wasn't sleeping much at all. I was typically in the office till midnight. By this stage, I was usually back in the office by 7 o'clock in the morning, drinking far too much coffee. And coffee's not my drink, but they don't have decent tea in Europe. And those of you who are on the who are here live or listening in the replay will know, of course, that if you are British, we like our tea. So I was defaulting to coffee, which I'm sure was very good coffee, but I don't like coffee, and it's much, and it's not, a lot of it is not good for you. So I was getting angry very easily. I was feeling actually quite panicked at times by and overwhelmed and by the amount of work I had to do. I was, when new stuff came across my desk, I varied from getting angry about it to being upset about it, but to being depressed about it. I was snappish, and at some point, with all the headaches and the lack of sleep, I snapped and realised that I couldn't cope. Now, luckily, I managed to fix it, and of course, as a result of figuring out what was going on, firstly, we launched on schedule, and secondly, as a result of that, years later, over the years, I researched how to deal with stress in a systematic way and how to avoid getting stressed, and the upshot of that was a live series of webinars that I did, seminars. I didn't do webinars in those days, but back in the kind of 2000s, after I'd left Deloitte's and was no longer live managing projects, but I was speaking and training through the 2000s and the teens. I was doing live seminars and training courses on stress management, as well as on project management and other things, and I wrote a book called Brilliant Stress Management, about which more later. So, what are the signs of stress that you will notice in yourself? And I'm sure if you are looking at this list and have been stressed, you will recognize a lot of these. Firstly, your emotions get out of control, and it's easy to predict that you will have stronger, more polarized emotional responses. It's not so easy to predict which emotions will be present at any one time, but you're likely to experience some or all of anger, frustration, impatience, panic, fear, fearfulness, depression, pessimism, guilt, all that stuff. And your attitudes, as a result, will suffer too. You will not respond well to feedback. You will take everything as a criticism, even if it's not intended that way. And as for other people, you'll be looking to blame them as much as you can for your woes. You will feel a sense of overwhelm. You'll feel there's just too much and you can't cope. You'll feel rushed. You'll feel like there's no time. You will feel like you have to work late. Everything will be a struggle, and at some point you just won't care. you will desperately want to get stuff done because you will feel obliged and guilty, but you won't care. And there'll be physical symptoms too. You will be tired, which of course drives a lot of the emotions and the attitudes I've discussed. You will have headaches, you will have twitches, you'll get that kind of twitchy eye thing that we all get when we're overtired. You'll start to notice sores and cuts won't heal properly. You will get coughs and colds. Your sleep will be poor. Lassitude is you just don't want to bother, you just feel like, I really can't face it. And it doesn't help when the weather's too hot or too cold either, but and you'll become withdrawn. You won't be your gregarious self. You won't want to socialise. You won't want to let people help you, which of course then becomes part of a spiral. And of course you will see some of this in your team members as well, but there will be much more visible things. And I've divided this into the visible things that you will notice in individuals that will show that they are stressed, but also there are whole team symptoms, things that you will notice systemically across the team that will suggest the team itself is under stress as well as the individuals. So you'll start to notice that your people's personal care won't be what it was. Now, one or two people will become over fastidious as a coping mechanism. Others, their personal care will go, their grooming will go, their timekeeping will go. They will be late for meetings and late for work. There will be mood swings. You may notice weight loss or weight gain because they're not eating properly. One of the things that happens when we become stressed is that our regulation of hunger cycles becomes poorer. So either people start to eat lots and lots of junk food as a coping mechanism and their weight will go up, or they're not eating enough and their weight will go down. Their concentration will be poor. They will be unwilling to cooperate. They will seem fatigued. Their posture will droop, be kind of hunched. They will move a little jerkily. And across the whole team, you might start to notice absence rates rise on a long project, and certainly within an operational environment. You will notice an actual increase in turnover, people leaving, and turnover rates will increase. It takes a long time in a big team to get a statistically significant measure of that, but productivity will definitely fall. The atmosphere will sour. You will get a sense that there's more toxic gossip and rumour. Relationships will become strained. People will argue and bicker. Timekeeping across the whole team will suffer, and you'll notice more poor health, more absence due to poor health. So if that's familiar, just say I in the chat or something like that, so I know that I'm on the right stream here. And all of this actually is biologically programmed, and in many ways it's adaptive in the sense that we have evolved to have all of these responses because they are a good thing. Because what is the stress response? Well, the stress response is the response we have when we step out of our cave in the morning and on our way to work, a gigantic bear or mountain lion attacks us. And immediately we enter the fight or flight response. And the fight or flight response means that we either ready ourselves to fight whatever it is that threatens us or to run from it. But either way, our body instantly pumps a whole new set of hormones around the body which prepare us for that urgent situation. Our breathing gets faster and shallower to put more oxygen in the system. Our pulse rate goes up to distribute that oxygen. Our muscles tense. The blood rushes to our viscera, our centre, which is why we feel nervous. It's that butterflies thing because it doesn't want excess blood in the limbs to bleed. We start sweating to dump excess heat. We start to feel anxious. Now, all that is very well if we are being chased by a lion. your ancestor that was chased by a lion escaped. And I know that because they then had children, and they had children, and they had children. It came down to you. The people who did not escape did not leave children, and therefore, yeah. So, actually, the ability to fight or flee, is adaptive. And, of course, once we've escaped from the mountain lion, or we've killed it with our bare hands, which is a kind of Hollywood fantasy, then we realise we're safe, and we then sit down and we go, and this is not an ASMR session, and we breathe deeply and we relax, and all those hormones gradually discharge and we return to normal. But if you're going to work and you are under stress from the minute you get to work, and you are still under stress by the time you go home, then you haven't discharged all those hormones, and they're still in your system when you're trying to relax and go to sleep, which you can't do properly because of those systems. And then the next morning you get up and you're back at work, and those hormones are still there because you're worried about the day at work. Now, those hormones don't only boost the stuff that you need in the fight or flight, but they actually suppress all the things that your body just does not need. Why waste time on immune response and repair and digestion and sleep regulation and sexual function when you're fighting for your life? So those are all suppressed. And of course, when we become stressed long term, those are suppressed long term. Because our immunity and repair systems are suppressed, that's why we find ourselves getting cold sores and coughs and colds and headaches, and our digestion is suppressed. So that's why we get inappropriate hunger and indigestion when we eat. We don't sleep well because we've got too much adrenaline in our system, and of course our sexual function goes down. So it's not, we're not just tense and sweaty and our heart's racing, but we also lose our appetite, we can't sleep, we get spots, and we lose our sex drive. And that is the long-term fact of stress in the workplace. And as project managers, we've kind of volunteered for that. So I'd mention this. I wrote a book called Brilliant Stress Management, which was released into a second edition called How to Manage Stress. It's available on Amazon. Just put in genie.us/HTMS, How to Manage Stress. And that book is everything I know about stress. I did a lot of research over a number of years and then distilled that into this book. And it is, of all of my 14 books that have been published by publishers, proper publishers rather than self-published books, of all those 14, it is the best-selling one of all. And I lose track of how many it's sold around the world, but it's many thousands, and I think it's way past 10,000 now if you include the digital editions. And it's also been translated into multiple languages. I should have got the foreign language versions down from the shelf because there might be people here, but you can look out for it in your language, in your nationality. Anyway, section 2, de-stressing. So how can you reduce the symptoms of stress and remove the immediate causes? Well, the first thing we need to understand is what is at the heart of stress. So let's ask the question, why are projects stressful? And the answer is they are stressful because we are trying to do something difficult under difficult conditions, under time pressure, under budgetary pressure, under a lot of scrutiny. And they're things that matter, and they're things that are complex, and they're things that are large. And what we are trying to do in that difficult situation is to exert control. However, what is the source of stress? We feel stress as human beings when we do not feel like we have enough control. All our stress response is a response to feeling that we are not in control of our situation. That's what causes us to feel stressed. Simple as that. So, in a sense, project management is the answer to stress, because what do we do to address stress? We exert control. And what does project management aim to do? It aims to exert control. The problem, of course, is that while we're aiming to exert control, at times we do not feel like we have enough of that control, and that therefore becomes a stressor. And when we don't feel like we have enough control, that is when your emotions will seize control and you feel stressed. So that is really what stress is all about. And therefore, if you want to reduce the symptoms of stress, to relieve the amount of stress you feel, you have to exert control. It's as simple as that. And we're going to look at 5 points of control that are not project management points of control, like controlling resources, controlling budget, controlling schedule and all of that, because we know that as project managers. I'm going to look at 5 points of control for your personal stress. And the first one is your physiology. A lot of our stress response is carried in our bodies. We tense our muscles, we hunch up, and so what we need to do is our breathing becomes faster and more shallow, all of that stuff. So what we need to do is to relax our bodies and systematically breathe deeply and slowly. Secondly, adjust your posture. And part of this is about sitting and standing upright and kind of imagining there's a puppet string coming out at the top of your head that's lifting you to the sky. Another part of it is loosening up those tense muscles. And one of the best ways to do that is with exercise. We'll come back to that. Another simple way is to stand and to wiggle your fingers. And once your fingers are wiggling, start to shake your hands at the wrist. And once your hands shake at the wrist, allow them to shake at the elbow, and then allow the whole arm to shake from the shoulder, and then allow your whole upper body to shake, and then let that shake propagate down into your legs and through your knees until you are shaking with just the balls of your feet in contact. And do that for 20, 30, 40 seconds, and then gradually relax that back down and loosen everything up, and then adjust your posture. And another really powerful way to adjust your physiology is to look for opportunities to laugh and enjoy life. Movement and laughter are, the best ways to return your body to its natural physiology. Next, we've got environment. Often we feel like we're not in control of our environment, particularly at work. Because in the workplace we typically cannot do anything to control our macro environment, the whole workplace, what we need to do is find ways to exert a little bit of control over our immediate environment. Now, I know this is tricky in some workplaces where they have very strict controls, clear desk policies and all of that, but while you are working, arrange your workspace. If you are one of those people who does not like clutter, then start each day or each work session by clearing the clutter, so that you are taking control of your environment. If you're one of those people who likes to have personal things around you, then start each work session by arranging those things around you, so that you feel like you have made one small step to controlling your environment. That gives you a sense of control and reduces your stress. Then there's time. When we are stressed, we don't feel like we've got enough time. We're not in control of our time. I've talked about this in videos. I've talked about this on live streams. My preferred approach to this is the Oates method. Think about the outcomes you need to achieve in your next work period. Then think about the activities you need to do to achieve those outcomes. Then think about the time that each of those activities will take, and then schedule those activities into that work period. And by deliberately taking control of what you do and what you do not do, and when you do things, not only will that potentially increase your productivity, but by taking control, you reduce the stress. Oh, and by the way, Overwhelm is not the same as overload. Overwhelm is the feeling that I cannot cope with all the things I have to do, whereas overload is an objective fact that there is too much work to be done with the current resources in the time available. You could become overwhelmed when there's actually plenty of time, just because of your emotional state. So overwhelm is a stress response, and I have a video about how to cope with overwhelm and how to overcome overwhelm, and I'll put a link to that in the chat for anyone, and it's also in the video description below the video on YouTube for those who are watching a catch up, because if you find yourself overwhelmed, I'm going to repaste that because I think there's a gap's been missed out, and I hope that doesn't stop it working. So let's go again. With that posted, if you do suffer from overwhelm or you want to learn how to handle overwhelm, take a look at that video. It's a good one, and it's actually one of the most popular things that I do in live talks and seminars. People come up to me afterwards and say that is the bee's knees. Next up is attitudes. Take control of your attitudes. The kind of attitudes which are amp up stress and therefore the ones you need to take control of are things like perfectionism, the feeling that everything has to be just right when it doesn't, your attitude to risk, particularly this is about deciding what is the right level of risk for you to take at any one time, and to be in control of that, your attitude to time, and feeling that you don't have to rush, hurry. There is a time that things need to take, and you're working to that schedule. Your attitude to work, that the sense that you don't have to work hard, you have to get the job done, and that's a different way of thinking about things that makes a difference for people. Your need to be strong, particularly for your team, and to take it all on the chin. You don't always need to take it all on the chin and be strong. You can share the hardships with your team. The attitude of needing to please people all the time. You don't need to please people all the time. You need to do your job and do it well and respectfully. Treat people with respect. But sometimes saying no to people is the right thing to do. Guilt. Guilt is about the things you feel like you should have done or you should do, but we don't do the things we should do. We do the things we must do. We do the things we want to do. The things we should do are not important enough to be musts, and they're not pleasant enough to be wants. So don't worry about them. Don't get guilty about them. And also, the big one is a lot of professionals have is this need to be right. Do you know how to be right all the time? The way to be right all the time is to detect the moment you realise you're wrong and to change your mind. But you don't need to be right all the time. You just need to follow good practice, and if you turn out to be wrong, change your mind. And finally, the fifth thing that you can take control of is your mind. The things you focus on and the way you approach life, your optimism, your gratitude, your sense of determination, and all of this is mediated by the imagery you feed your mind with, and the self-talk. Princess Diana, who was the first wife of the current King of England, she once said, if I talk to my friends the way that I talk to myself, I would have no friends. And we all do that. We all talk to ourselves, and we often beat ourselves up and tell ourselves that we're rubbish, we're not prepared, everything's going to go wrong, this is going to be a disaster, this is all going to be my fault. Nobody can hear that self-talk, so why not be decent to yourself? Imagine how you would talk to a colleague who needs support and guidance and a bit of a pep talk, and talk to yourself in that way. So all of those points of control will help you to take control of your own stress. But what about your team? When your team is under stress, it's kind of like they are in a pressure cooker environment, and there are two ways, if the pressure cooker is under too much stress, that you can reduce that stress. And the first is to turn down the heat. don't push them so hard. And the second is allow them to release some pressure. Give them some time off. Do something that allows them to recover. Give them a chance to de-stress themselves with some social time, some good food, some relaxation, some time to go home early and get a good night's sleep. So we've got these points of control for yourself, and with your team, you need to let them de-stress. So again, all of this is in much greater detail in the book How to Manage Stress, and it's been well reviewed on Amazon, so I'm very proud of it. And that takes us to the third of our sections, and this is now perhaps the most important, because this is about building a resilience to stress so that you can make it more and more likely that you can deal with stressful situations without getting stressed. And we need to build resilience. And now I think there are 4 things that help you to build resilience. And the first of them is good fuel. By which I mean, from the start of your project all the way through, prioritize eating well. Don't let yourself get caught in drinking too much coffee, not enough water, too much junk food, not enough good food, too much rushed food, not enough relaxed eating with good company. Now, I'm not a dietitian. I'm not going to tell you what good food looks like. In whatever country, whatever culture you live in, whatever style of cuisine you like, you know what the good ingredients are and what the good preparation methods are to produce highly nutritious, good quality food. And you also know what junk food looks like. In fact, Michael Pollan, I think, summed it up best. He said, if you want to summarize the entire body of research into nutrition into 7 words, it's eat food, not too much, mostly vegetables. Eat food, not too much, mostly vegetables. Well, I think mostly plants is what he said. So yeah, eat food, not too much, mostly plants. Now, eat food seems like a bit obvious, but what he's doing there is he's distinguishing between food and what he calls edible food-like substances. So food-like substances are highly processed things which are which are edible. We can eat them, we can draw nutrition from them, but they're not good for us. So highly processed foods like junk foods and stuff like that. So eat food, not too much, mostly plants, and lots of water, he says, taking another sip. So that's the first one, and eat food in good company, in a relaxed way as well. So that's the first thing. Secondly, good energy. This is about exercise. Now, without a doubt, exercise is a brilliant way to de-stress. If you are stressed, going out and doing exercise is a brilliant way to de-stress. However, if you build exercise into your daily regime or your weekly regime, if you go to the gym, if you play a sport, if you walk to work, if you do some gardening, if you dance, if you have that in you, not only will that obviously build physical resilience and strengthen your muscles and suppleness and stamina and all those good things, but it will also build mental resilience too, and resilience to stress. So, and of course, it makes it very, very much easier to maintain a regime of taking exercise if it has become a habit before you get stressed. Because when we get stressed, we get under time pressure, all the good stuff is likely to go. We're less likely to think, oh, what I actually need to do is take more time out so that I can exercise. We're more likely to think, oh God, well, I probably should exercise, but I haven't got time. Whereas if it's part of your routine and it's a habit, and if you're exercising socially through a club or a sport or whatever, it's also a commitment to other people. And that makes it much, much harder for you to give up those good habits when you're under stress. So build exercise into your weekly routine, daily weekly routine, alongside good food. And of course, they work really nicely together, because if you do good quality exercise, then you will improve your appetite and your ability to process the food that you eat. And if you're eating good food, it will improve your ability to exercise. All these things are kind of cumulative, and of course the one that then goes with that very nicely is good rest. If you have exercise in your routine and you eat well, eat good quality food, then you are probably going to sleep better. But you're only going to sleep well if you make time to have a routine that allows you to relax for some of your waking hours, but also to work towards a proper sleep routine and enough sleep. And whatever you might think, the average adult human being needs between 7 and 9 hours of sleep a day. Too much sleep and you become lethargic. Not enough sleep and you can't concentrate. And if you think you can manage, as I kind of did on that project, with what was I doing? And sometimes it was like 5 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours sleep a night. And we have roughly 4 hour sleep cycles. My sleep cycle is about 4.25, 4.5 hours. So I need somewhere between 8 and 9 hours of sleep. But I thought, you know what? If I get one full sleep cycle and then wake up at the end of that, then I'll wake up easily. And I kind of didn't really think that was a problem, but it is. So get yourself a routine to wind down in the run up to bedtime. Avoid stimulants like alcohol and caffeine. Now, I'm not saying don't drink alcohol, don't drink caffeine. They're fine in moderation. But caffeine probably, no coffee after about 2-3 p.m. No tea, I would say, after about 5-6 p.m. if you're going to be going to bed about 10-11 o'clock at night. Alcohol, fine, in small quantities, in moderation, and certainly not every day, but ideally maybe only 2 or 3 times a week. I'm not your gran, okay? But if you have trouble sleeping, then get yourself a routine that winds you down, and part of that routine is not having screens and digital devices around you. If you're going to do something to relax, then reading is a great way to do that, and not work. Don't read for work, read for pleasure. Get yourself a novel that is easy for you to read when you're tired, and you can enjoy. Not a laugh out loud thing that's going to keep you awake, or a thriller that's going to scare you, but something that you can read easily and get some pleasure from. And then finally, good relationships. So yes, you can see how food and exercise and rest all work together, but relationships work too. Relationships are about the people who will support you when you are in danger of becoming stressed. They are a source of energy and relaxation in themselves. They are people to do exercise with. They are people to help you relax and get good rest. They are people to eat with. And of course, for most of us, the relationships that matter most are our close family, our chosen partners, our immediate family, parents, children, siblings. And of course, they love us. So when we're under stress, they will cut us some slack and give us some support. And I think of that as kind of like a reciprocation economy, where you are now drawing out of the bank some of the credit you put in. But if you draw on that credit for too long without putting something into the relationship and building the relationship and feeding the relationship and giving something back to those individuals, then at some point you will become overdrawn, and they will start at some point to resent giving. So feed those relationships, and that will help you to build resilience. And I think an optimistic outlook is important too. And this is not about, is it glass half full, glass half empty kind of shallow optimism. This is about the optimism that you have those resources in your life that will allow you to spot the opportunities to succeed. And another important part of this, I think, is mindfulness, the ability to take time in your day to be aware of what's going on and not to let events wash over you and control you, but to actually sit and reflect on that. And one of the best ways to both recover from stress but also to prevent stress is to become mindful of the things that really matter. And the best tool I know, I learned about it from a book called Thanks by Layard. Let me just remind myself what it's called. Yeah, it's called Thanks. And it's not by George Layard, it's by Robert Emmons. I do apologise to Robert Emmons. So Thanks by Robert Emmons is where I learned about this idea of a gratitude journal, and it's called How a New Science of Gratitude Can Make You Happier. And basically the idea of a gratitude journal is when we're under stress or when we're potential to become stressed, we tend to focus on all the bad things, and they crowd in on our mind and dominate our thoughts. So the idea of a gratitude journal is once a day you think about one thing for which you are grateful. And sometimes that's going to be a big thing, like my family is healthy. Sometimes it'll be a really small thing, like I had a lovely cup of coffee and donut, and I really enjoyed it this morning. But if you can focus on one thing that you are grateful for each day, it shifts your focus a little bit away from the bad stuff, a little bit towards the good stuff. So that will build resilience in you. How can we build resilience in our teams? Well, the first thing we have to do is a regular inventory. What's going on with our team? And I think there's two aspects to this. One is you need to become sensitive to your team. And we do that largely by wandering around, talking to people, and get a sense of the kind of temperature of the room. Are people stressed? And the best way to do this is to do it at the end of the working day. Wander around where your team or teams are working and start chatting to people. If your team members are happy to chat about nothing much in particular at the end of the day, that means all is well. If, on the other hand, and I used to do this, particularly on a project I did in London, I was working on implementing the congestion charge, and we were under a lot of pressure, and I would wander around at the end of the day chatting with people about nothing in particular. And if in one room everyone was happy to chat, then I knew all was well with that team, or that part of the team. If I go to another room and the kind of mood was, go away Mike, we're busy, we need to get finished, I want to go home, then I kind of knew that that bit of the team was under pressure, and I would talk to the team lead and we'd discuss how we could handle that. Secondly is a more deliberate check-in. Actually get the team together and ask them how things are going, ask them what their concerns are, ask them what the pressure points are. Actually say, on a scale of 1 to 10, how are you feeling as a team? And one of the great ways to do this is a kinesthetic approach where you label one end of the room 0 and the other end of the room 10 on the pressure scale or the stress scale, where 0 is totally cool. And the 10 is like we are just constant panic mode, and you ask people to stand along that line where they think they are, and you get a sense, are most of them towards one end, are most of them towards the other end? That will tell you about the team. Is someone in a different position to everyone else, in which case that tells you about them and their particular job. But also check in with people one-on-one. Now, if you have a big project team, when I was working in London on congestion charge, there were 90 people, I think, technically working on the project, and we had about 5 or 6 team leads. So I would check in with one-on-one with the team leads and ask them to check in one-on-one with their teams. But if I wandered around and had a sense that one of their teams was under stress, I would talk to them about it. But that one-on-one, how's things going with you? What's the issues you're facing? How are you feeling? What support do you need? Those sorts of questions will give you an understanding. And it may be that some people will lie to you, so you need to keep the kind of your senses open to what's going on, and sense those kind of incongruities between people. of course, once you've got that information, you need to make adjustments. And there are a load of valves that you can turn. You can turn up the pressure on one and turn down the pressure on another, and really think about what can you do to move people around, to move work around between parts of your team, delay things so that your team's got more time to do some of the things that they feel pressured by. So with team resilience, it's about being aware of what's going on and stepping in and sorting things out. And if you sense that pressure is building for all of you, bear in mind the message you will hear on every flight that you go on. If the oxygen masks drop from the ceilings, put your own mask on first before helping the person next to you. You will not be in a fit state to help your team if they get stressed, if you are stressed. So as soon as you get a sense that stress is rising in you, deal with that. Then you will have, first of all, the perspective to understand the stress that your team is under, and secondly, the resources and the resourcefulness and the energy and the ability to handle their situation and to help them through their stressful situation. So that's pretty much all. Last reminder of stress. Actually, one of the reasons why I think Brilliant Stress Management was a bestseller was thanks to Naomi Campbell, supermodel Naomi Campbell. So Harper's Bazaar did a photo shoot with 5 top supermodels, and they interviewed them. And one of them was Naomi Campbell. And one of the questions that Naomi was asked was, "What is your enduring motto?" And she said, "Trying to erase stress from my life as much as possible." And then she said, "I'm reading an amazing book called Brilliant Stress Management by Mike Clayton." And that was an unsolicited endorsement from a major personality at the time in a major magazine. So it may be that gave the book a bit of a boost. So even Naomi Campbell likes it. So I'd planned this to be around an hour, and it looks like I come in just under the hour, so that's good. So if anyone has any questions, if you're watching this live, put some questions in the chat if you have any, or observations or thoughts, or indeed thoughts about the style and whether you think that will work when we talk about stakeholder engagement next month. Any comments? If you are watching on replay, which will be available within an hour or so of this stream ending, people can replay it, I think probably almost immediately, usually. Then ask questions in the comments, and I'll answer them. So if you do have questions, I'd be delighted to hear your questions and to answer them if I can. So otherwise, I won't take any more of your time than I need to. So I'll give you a few moments to ask questions, because I know there's a bit of a lag between me speaking and you receiving. But if you have anything to say or any questions you want to ask, please do put them in the chat. Otherwise, I will wind up the stream and remind you that on the 3rd of October, that's the first Tuesday in October, we'll be here at the same time. Can't remember when the clocks change in the UK. I do this at 5 p.m. UK time, which at the moment is 4 p.m. UTC. At some point, I think between the October and November one, we change our clocks and it becomes 5 p.m. UTC. But keep an eye out for that. Nothing coming through on the chat at the moment. I think we've had enough time, so I'm going to start winding down. So thank you all very much. I'll just see what we've got here. We've got some comments. So Once has had to leave the stream. I hope you're listening to this on replay. We've got a couple of eyes. Factor in the Ringelmann effect too. See, Hamburg Gumbel does this to me. He throws in an idea. Usually I recognise it, but in this case, I don't know what the Ringelmann effect is. So if you're still there, Hambo, please do tell us what the Ringelmann effect is. Otherwise, I'm going to have to look it up. then what else have we got? That's it. Oh, we've got Scott. Thank you, Mike. Great stream. My pleasure, Scott. Didn't know you were there, but let me just... I'm going to Google Ringelmann effect. Ringelmann effect is the tendency for individual members of a group to become increasingly less productive as the size of the group increases. That's absolutely true. Well, I think it's an average. The average productivity decreases because I think some individuals will maintain their level of productivity, but others will not because they will hide. That's my interpretation of that. I'm going to be doing some research into the Ringelmann effect. Sounds interesting, but I hadn't come across it, so thank you very much, Hambo. If you're still listening, I hope you are. Anyway, I'm going to sign off. I'm not going to take up more of your time. It's been great to do this for you. I hope that, like Scott, you've enjoyed it and you've learned from it and it's been useful. And I will see you, I hope, on the 3rd of October when we will be talking about the basics of stakeholder engagement. So see you then.